Our world is just full of these incredible places that, well, they defy any easy explanation. We're talking ghost towns, bizarre geological oddities, and ancient puzzles that scientists are still scratching their heads over. So let's dive in and explore some of the most fascinating and mysterious spots on Earth. So let's just start with a big question. Look at this thing. It's a fiery pit that has been burning nonstop since 1971. How and why? Don't worry, we are going to get to the bottom of that secret later. But our journey into the unknown actually begins not with a mystery of the Earth itself, but with humanity, in places defined by the people who have left. Sometimes the biggest mystery of all is how a place that's just teeming with life can suddenly empty out. These are the stories of communities that vanished, leaving behind nothing but echoes of what they once were. Okay, I want you to imagine a city stacked so high and packed in so tight that sunlight barely ever touched the ground. That was a real place. It was Kowloon-walled city in Hong Kong, this lawless, vertical labyrinth that was once a thriving, completely self-contained world. And the sheer scale of it is what's truly mind-boggling. Over 30,000 people lived inside a space of just 6.5 acres. It was a whole community, It had its own unlicensed dentists and noodle makers, all operating pretty much outside the law, where local gangs often provided a kind of shadow government. Then, in the early 1990s, the authorities came in and demolished the entire city. And today, a peaceful city park stands in its place. For a lot of people, it was just a historical quirk they wanted to forget. But for the people who actually lived there, it was this incredible testament to how community can thrive, even in total chaos. A whole world just erased. So from a city erased by policy, let's turn to an island that was emptied out by what we call progress. Off the coast of Nagasaki, Japan, you'll find Hashima Island. Most people call it Battleship Island. But it wasn't always a ghost town. It used to be the beating heart of a booming coal mining operation. The speed of its collapse is just stunning. I mean, back in the 1950s, more than 5,000 people called this tiny island home. But then petroleum started replacing coal and the mine shut down in 1974. It took just 3 months, for every single person to leave, many of them just leaving their belongings right where they stood. And its legacy is captured perfectly by this quote. The rust, the wind, the salt, it's all turned Hashima into a withering example of how progress can fade just as fast as it rises. It's become this incredibly powerful symbol of industrial ambition and its eventual decay. Okay, so what happens when humanity leaves and something else moves in? In some places, nature isn't just taking over, it's practically swallowing our world whole. When we're not around, nature doesn't just return, it absolutely takes over. Take a look at Haotuan. It's a fishing village on an island near Shanghai. For decades, it was a really bustling community. But in the 90s, it just got too isolated economically, so its 2,000 residents moved to the mainland. And in their absence, well, nature crept back in, covering literally everything in this thick green carpet of vines. But sometimes nature's power isn't so quiet and gentle. In the ancient hill town of Krakow in southern Italy, reclamation wasn't a slow creep. It was a sudden, violent collapse. Now think about this for a second. Krakow's oldest buildings go all the way back to the 11th century. This town survived wars, plagues, bandit raids, you name it, for hundreds of years. But in the end, it wasn't people that brought it down. It was nature. Landslides and earthquakes made the town so unstable that by 1963, everybody had to leave. Okay, so we've gone from abandoned places to these enduring enigmas. Now, let's look at mysteries created not by absence, but by ancient hands that left behind these incredible puzzles we still can't solve. So over in Laos, there are thousands of these enormous ancient stone jars scattered all over the landscape. But why? Well, theories are pretty much all we've got. Local legend says they're a giant's forgotten party cups. A more practical idea suggests they were for collecting rainwater. But the leading theory among archaeologists is that they were actually funerary urns for the dead. But as fascinating as those jars are, they are absolutely dwarfed by a puzzle etched across 170 square miles of desert in southern Peru, the famous Nazca Lines. These were created as early as 500 BCE. They're these massive geoglyphs, drawings made right on the earth itself. And they show animals and plants on a scale so huge, you can only really appreciate them from the air.
But why? Were they maps of the stars? Religious symbols for ceremonies honoring water? The honest answer is, we just don't know. From human mysteries, let's turn to the Earth itself. Because our planet has its own secrets, these strange, powerful phenomena that honestly look like they belong on another world.
And that brings us right back to our opening question. This is the Darvaza gas crater, but it's better known as the door to hell. Back in 1971, a Soviet drilling rig collapsed into a giant cavern of natural gas. To stop the toxic methane from spreading, the geologists decided to set it on fire, figuring it would burn out in a few days. Well, that was over 50 years ago, and it is still burning today, fueled by a massive and still unknown reserve of natural gas. So while the door to hell was a man-made accident, our planet can create spectacles that are just as bizarre all on its own. Deep in Antarctica, there's a place called Blood Falls, where a glacier literally looks like it's bleeding a deep red liquid out onto the ice. For the longest time, everyone thought it was caused by red algae or something, but the real science is actually way more fascinating. There's an ancient, super salty, iron-rich lake that's trapped underneath the glacier. The high salt content keeps it from freezing, and when this water seeps out and finally hits the air, the iron in it oxidizes. It basically rusts, and that's what creates that stunning blood red color. So what do all these places really tell us? From forgotten cities and ancient puzzles to the planet's own fiery secrets, it's pretty clear we're surrounded by mystery. You know, these places are so much more than just curiosities. They are stories. Stories of ambition, of decay, of resilience, and of the incredible power of both humanity and nature. They remind us that for all the things we think we know, there is so much more out there left to discover and to understand. It seems like every solved mystery just opens the door to more questions. It really makes you wonder, what other incredible, unbelievable secrets is our planet hiding, just waiting for us to find them?